So did you guys have fun with Cabo? About Theory of a Dead Man? Right on. I'm gonna hang out with you guys a little while longer down here.
I can feel coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. I've been waiting for this moment for all my life. Oh, Lord. Can you feel it coming in the air tonight? Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. When you told me you would try me, I would not lend a hand. I see your face before my plan, but I don't know if you know I am. But I was there and I saw what you did.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Welcome to the I Don't Know Shit About
Joe, you
Comics
come
Panel.
sit with me. You sit here, Joe. Aaron, you sit there. You moderate. I'm going to be quiet.
Take it you didn't find that hot toddy.
Whatever that was that they gave me is disgusting.
Joe, you were very lucky right now. You were you're the first guest on an I Don't Know Shit About Comics panel that actually get a word in edgewise since Jesse can't talk.
I let my celebrity partner speak.
No, I specified
It's this or nothing. I'm doing the best I can with what I've got.
I like the Harvey part.
We gotta go older. Oh, my brother, I love you.
For those of you who don't know, which is probably all of you, my name is Aaron Sparrow. I'm a writer-editor in the comics industry. Worked on Disney Pixar books, Muppets, Richie Rich, DreamWorks, all
Darkwing
those.
Duck. If anybody read Darkwing Duck, the only reason why you got a Darkwing Duck comic is because that man loves Darkwing Duck and made sure it happened.
Ridiculously so. This is Joe Kelly, who has worked on more things than I can even list. Adventures of Superman, Action Comics, I can't even, most importantly for me, Deadpool. If you guys know who Deadpool is, if you love Deadpool, it is because of this man. Everything that is cool about Deadpool is because of Joe Kelly, including the fact that Deadpool was a character, that was his name, was never a reason why until Joe Kelly came up with not only a plausible reason, but a fantastic.
I did that as a question last night. I said, why is he called Deadpool?
Sad thing is, I probably wouldn't have known the answer.
I've written so much since. I'm surprised I forgot. But for me, that was like the first book that I really, Savage Dragon was the first book that I got. And then I went to Deadpool because I liked Dragons, it was funny. And I heard Deadpool was funny. But you took something that was funny and could have been vacuous, and you gave it meaning. And for me, Deadpool's a character, and it's not really true anymore. He was always just so endearing because he knew he was an asshole, and he didn't want to be one. And every time he was an asshole, he was like, ah, damn it, I did it again. And it was like, kill another guy. I'll make this up somehow. And that was the ongoing, just failing so royally.
Completely autobiographical.
So basically what we do with I Don't Know Shit About Comics is, a while ago, Jesse realized that conventions all the time, and especially as writers, you know, you're sitting there, and if you're an artist, it's great. So if somebody comes up and they don't know who you are, you can draw them a little sketch, and they go away with a Batman, and they're like, wow, that was pretty great. And you know, as a writer, you can't go, well, I'll write you a really exciting paragraph. Put this on your fridge and enjoy it. And you know, one of the things that we're all really passionate about is, you know, of course, comics and getting people interested. As I'm sure as comic fans, you guys want to share it with your friends, your family, and we started thinking about ways to reach out, and Jesse came with this great idea of doing this quiz, which we actually did here in Portland last year for the first time. And it's just a little general knowledge quiz of, you know, basic comic facts and misconceptions that we wanted to cover, because there's so many people that come to the conventions, you know, because they saw The Walking Dead on TV and they love it, and they're like, hey, some of the actors are going to be signing, so let's go down and check it out. And you know, they're interested in the things that these properties were born from, but they don't quite know how to get into it. And you know, maybe they even went into a comic book store, and you know, maybe they had a surly clerk that, you know, kind of brushed them off, or you know, or they just went in, maybe they had a good person, but there was just so much there that they were overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think people feel really overwhelmed. You know, and it's that's that thing where like somebody comes up to you and asks you a question, and you're like look it up. Like, you're like, you can figure that out. And you would think that people can make the jump to comics, but there's this invisible wall. Well, I've never done that before. Well, we'll just try it. You know, but I think the biggest problem with comics and getting people into comics tends to be the fans, because we are so focused on minutia. And if you're trying to get somebody into comic books and you tell them all about the minutia, you're going to scare them away. If they say, how do you read a comic? And you go, every comic's different. Every comic's different. I'm never going to read a comic.
This sounds like work. This is learning.
You know, you need to say, oh, you just fucking read it. There's words, and you get to it. It's easy. Go. You know, like,
top to bottom, left to right.
Yeah, we've won the Pulitzer Prize. You know, where it's not disputable. It's an art form, and it's a more versatile art form than any other art form that I know.
So, you know, with comics, you know, you go, you see, like, let's say you went, you know, you saw the Avengers, and you're like, wow, I really want to get into the Avengers, and then you come back to your comic book friend and you say, hey, you know, I want to start reading Avengers. Where do I begin? And they go, well, you know, you really want to get into like the 1970s run, but then again, you know, a lot of things were established in, you know, in the early Stan Lee days. That
Never mind. I'm just gonna go read War and Peace, I guess.
You know, I've been in comics now for, you know, 16, 17 years or something, and that exact thing happened to me when my son was like, I want to read Avengers comics. And he saw the movie, and I was like, I don't know what to give you. Literally, I was going online going, like, what is the best run of Avengers to start with? And there's, of course, 5,000 different opinions, you know? So I was like, screw you, go read the book. I didn't know what else to tell.
Mostly, I would say for a modern audience, if you're looking to get into the Avengers, you either start with the new Avengers, or you start with Avengers Disassemble, which you'll be like, who the hell are all these people? But they all die, so it doesn't matter. So that is actually kind of fun. I like just throw them in, you know, give them the crazy storyline to go. But yeah, the Bendis' Avengers is at least, you know, I find so much of the older Avengers thing, it's a much older writing sensibility, and I think most modern people trying to get into comics go, I don't know, it seems more like what they thought their grandparents' comics might have been like. You know, it's very verbose, and you know, everything's being described to you, even, you know, I don't need to do that. It's just very talky, you know. It's funny, because I went back and reread Deadpool recently, and you used to write more like that, and you've updated your style to be more of a modern comic book writer. Not everybody who's writing what you are has updated their styles. Maybe an inch.
No, I put a lot.
Exactly what you did.
Yeah, I put a lot of words on the page, and at Comic Craft for a while they would call me Joe Comic Kelly, because I also had bad grammar. So it was bad enough that I had too many words, I didn't know how to put the punctuation in it.
But you adjusted, I mean, that was the style in the day. And, you know, and you've adjusted your style is way more modern now. He's also working on Ultimate Spider-Man, which I just started watching with my kids. It's so awesome. You guys are doing such a great job on the show.
That is a fun show.
Yeah.
I first saw it in a bar.
What bar?
Yeah. Cocktail napkins. It was at Comic-Con, and we went to one of the parties, and all of the TVs they had playing. You know, you couldn't hear it over the thumping techno music. But I was like going, oh, this looks really good, you know, and it looks like, I mean, I can kind of put together the story just by what's going on, and it seems fun and exciting. So I started watching it, and I just absolutely love it. It's really fun.
It's really, the guys at Marvel were actually really cool about it. Quesada was like, you know, basically put together a cartoon, pretend that nobody knows anything about Spider-Man, but what you remember as a kid, like, and it is taking the feel of the old writing, the way that Stan would talk to you, the way that Stan would have Peter think about things, but then how do you visualize that? How do you put it in animation?
You guys kind of did like, it's like Teen Titans Spider-Man. You know, it's got that, you know, snappy, visual, you know, emotional, like, you just can get every joke. They're just so sharp and right. But mixed with that mighty Marvel Marching Society sort of Stan sensibility. It's really a great balance. It's a great show if you're not watching it. You really should.
And there is a Deadpool episode, which
yeah, I haven't seen it yet. Like, I saw like a preview of like a clip of it somewhere, but I haven't watched it yet.
It was one of the.
I watched the first 5 episodes or 6 so far.
Yeah, the Deadpool was, you know, when you do the cartoons, obviously they're for kids and they're on Disney and there's a lot of rules. Yeah, you can't say certain things and kill and die are 2 of those things. But it was a Deadpool episode and we were trying to figure out how to make that happen. And they actually fought for us to be able to have a sequence where Deadpool actually refuses to say that word. He's like, we're going to go unalive that guy. Unalive. Make him no longer with us. You know, this kind of thing.
He's gonna join the plot.
Spider-Man's finally being killed. He's like, oh, no. So they fought for us and we won that battle.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So look for the Deadpool fight.
I'm definitely gonna watch that one now. I hope you had a heavy hand in the writing.
I did. I actually insisted on it. And with a good friend of mine.
So, you know, basically, you know, the overall idea that you know, we've come to in having these panels and meeting fans and talking to them about, you know, what books they could read or where they could jump in is, you know, we have a list, and you can find it. Is it still up on the
Yeah. It's idks.comics.com. It's a really simple website. You know, it's just meant to be an easy resource. If you want some recommendations, we've got like 2 little setups. One, you know, if you enjoyed this film and you'd like to continue with these characters, here is the most reasonable place that I could find for you guys to jump on and hopefully have many more comics like ahead of it. You know, so that this is like, hey man, season 1 of a 50 series, you know, as much as I can give you, you know, the starting point. You know, if you start with Daredevil, Guardian Devil, you know, I mean, the Frank Miller stuff's worth going back to do later, but a more recent sensibility, it's written by Kevin Smith, and after the first or second arc with Kevin, it goes over to David Mack.
Yeah, I believe it is David.
David Mack, Bob Gale, who wrote Back to the Future, he does an arc that's great. And then after a minute, Michael Bendis and Alex Mabry take over the book, and it is just the greatest Daredevil thing ever until Mark Waid started writing recently. And that's this is what I'm giving you. You're going to have 150 brilliant books to read. They're amazing. And I'm telling you, Daredevil, movie did not sell the concept. Daredevil's the one that, like, the comic fans know that's the book you want to read. It's always been for a long time. Mm-hmm. That's a big one for me to recommend. But, you know, the website set up like that. So if there's a movie, here's a direct recommendation. And then we just have a few lists of, like, just some of the greatest graphic novels series that you could read. You know, Mouse, M-A-U-S. It won the Pulitzer Prize. They don't give that away for no reason. A comic book won the Pulitzer Prize. And it is the most brilliant comic book ever. Really worth reading. And there are so many more. There's so many genres. Everybody thinks it's all superheroes or Archie or anime. There is every genre under the sun. And it's usually being done better to certain degrees, you know, if you find the right stuff, than it's being done anywhere else. Because there's less cooks in the kitchen. And there's no budget constraints. And you can literally just do whatever you can imagine. And that's the beauty of comics. That's what makes, for me, comics the single greatest entertainment medium that there is. And I really don't, I will not entertain anybody telling me anything other than that. Because anything I want to do, I can do in a comic. And that's not true in any animated medium.
That just sounds so much more dramatic with your voice like that.
You know, I'm thinking about doing the Hulk Hogan thing. Hey, brother.
I can hear it myself. Oh, God.
Sounds like Hulk Hogan back there.
No, it sounded like you were just like dying just now. It's like, that wasn't me.
For comics, please.
And comics lived on.
Amazing. Jesse says comics are the greatest thing ever, and then he dies.
And maybe people actually start reading comics.
The great Mark speech of
I'll do it. All right. I'll be a martyr for comics.
He died for our entertainment.
You know, the terrible thing is, now that I'm like, this is my friend, this is my job, I barely get to read any anymore. And it's so sad, you know, it's so hard for me to find the time, you know, to get some books. Aaron will bring me a stack of like stuff that he likes. And he's like, these are good, read these. And I'll give you back to him slowly. But I barely get, I used to read 150 individual issues of a comic per month. 150 per month. The amount of ongoings, whatever. I mean, I was a gourmand. I wanted to know, you know, if somebody said this was worthwhile and this, you know, Sandman, and if it was a part of the comics, you know, culture, I wanted to be aware of it, you know. And I binged, man. I absorbed that stuff like you would not
I
believe.
did too. At one point when I was a teenager, I was behind in my pull box, and my dad says to me, he goes, well, let's go down, I'll take care of it. Be very magnanimous. Let's go have a father-son moment. I'll take you down to buy your comics. And my dad's a big sci-fi guy, and sometimes he would read my comics, but you know, but he was not a regular Wednesday comic buyer. And so we get down to the shop, and the guy pulls out my pull list for the month, and he's like, $225. And my dad almost had a heart attack, right? But to his credit, he bought them, and then, and very graciously did not, you know, just gave me a slight bit of ribbing about it, you know, and said, you're going to have to work this off. And then when I got home, and about 3 hours later, when I had read all of those books, and I went back to him and I said, I'm bored. He was like, you've got to be kidding.
I have a funny story about like the financial part of it. Because I mean, 150 books a month it's a habit. And of course, you know, it gets that crazy because I was working at a comic store. So, you know, I got 30% off all my books. So all of a sudden, 150 comics a month. And then all of a sudden, I wasn't working for a comic book store. And it was 150 comics per month, plus an additional 30%. So I scoured the internet, and I found this website where if they would give you like 5% off, 10% off, and it was all based on how much you ordered. If you ordered 55 monthly titles, they would do 35% off. And I was at 150, so I was like, 35%. And then I was working at Blockbuster getting free movies. So it was all built around me being able to entertain myself and stuff.
So, you know, there's definitely some great recommendations that we have for you, and, you know, we'd love to take some questions if you guys have any.
There's no stupid questions. You know, anything you've ever wanted to know, a recommendation, hey, I read this, where should I go next? Where should I start? There's no stupid questions, so anything you guys want to know.
Yeah, and you don't even have to follow our recommendations. You can just grab a book and jump in. I mean, when I got into comics, there was no real trade business. The first comic that I remember getting hooked on, I mean, you know, I'd read Archie, and I'd read some Star Wars comics here and there, but somebody gave me a copy of G.I. Joe number 16, which was Night Attack. And I had some of the toys, so I was like, oh, I know who these characters are. And by the end of the issue, like, the main hero had been shot, Cobra Commander had tried to betray Destro, the Baroness sacrificed, he was horribly burned. It was like just the most dramatic thing I had ever seen, you know, with these little toys that I had. And I was hooked, and I was at 7-Eleven every week until my uncle goes, oh, you like comics? Yeah, there's a book, you know, a store that is like a coin shop. And it was like, yeah, they carry comics every week, and I was hooked. So you can jump in the middle. You know, we've got good recommendations. I think your first book was what, Thing?
Thing number like 17.
Yeah.
The Sphinx, and I didn't know who they were, but I like the Thing.
No, yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a bunch of comics that I got from like an uncle that was all this older stuff, and it was horror comics and war comics and Superman and a bunch of stuff. But the first comic I ever bought was Bill Sienkiewicz covered New Mutants, and it was the Demon Bear saga. And I didn't know anything about those characters. I knew nothing about, I barely knew the X-Men at that point. Oh man, it was good. Because Sienkiewicz, his art style was so trippy. And I'm looking at a comic book going, this doesn't look like anything I've ever read before. And that's one of the beautiful things about comics. And it's the same today as it was when I picked that up.
There's an emotional entrance into the way somebody else is theoretically viewing the world. I mean, granted, they're just trying to be good artists and they're trying to be good at what they do. But ultimately, their style is formed by what they see. I had an art teacher. I was trying to be an artist when I was younger, before I became a writer. And, she said, just draw what you see. Your mistakes will be, your style. And, and that's really true in comics. You're drawing what you see, building on so much of the styles that come before. But the styles of all these writers, some of them just, like somebody like Frank Quietly, who his art just really when you see it, you just go, oh, this is just so interesting, so nice, and so light, and so pretty.
So when I look at Rob Liefeld's art, I'm seeing how he actually views the world.
I think so. Actually, I'm convinced of that.
Look up.
Hey, so earlier you said that one of the great things about comics is that they're not budget constrained. So what would you say is a great example of something that has like big visuals that would cost too much to make?
Right now, I'm working on a creator of a book called Odin and the Gods of Rock. And it's about religious figures as rock stars. They are fighting in a battle of the bands in a coliseum on Asgard. Every religion represented, gigantic, monstrous, Lucifer Antichrist is our Satan, Death Ferryman is our announcer. These things are special effects. Making it into a film or a television show would cost so much money. You have no idea. And I couldn't possibly think of pitching it as anything other than a comic.
And there's definitely, the books that, like, one of the first ones I thought of was The Authority by Warren Ellis. At the time that book came out, there's just huge set pieces of, huge ship. Now with CG, you can achieve some of that for $200 million. But, comics work on a $200 million budget every month. Now that doesn't mean anybody gets paid anywhere near that. Trust me, that's not happening. But, the amount of detail that an artist can put in, really, there's no limit to it. The only limit is the artist and the writer's imagination and what they can come up with.
Do you have what's the most expensive scene you've ever written into a comic where you went,
Wow, this would be expensive to do.
Oh gosh.
The fight with the Elite, that Superman thing is probably a pretty crazy
It's
one.
definitely up there. They break the moon basically, and
And they animated it recently, but that cost was way more money than doing a comic book.
Yeah, I wish I had I'm trying to think of one that really represents but they're all epic to me. That's what's so cool about most of the stories we tell. And on the other side of it, you can obviously find stories that are very small and personal. But whether you like fantasy or sci-fi, it doesn't matter. Like the biggest things you can imagine will wind up on that page. So I don't know. None of them. We had a Superman story where 3 planets ended up showing up in the solar system. You had like War World and it wasn't Bizarro Planet. I don't even remember. Yeah, it was like all these planets and all this stuff blowing up, and it was you can't do that.
So since we brought it up, can I just thank you for Superman versus the Elite? I absolutely. If you guys haven't, they've made a cartoon of it now that you guys can. I think it's still on Netflix.
Yeah.
Superman versus the Elite. But it came. You put that out at a time when everybody was saying Superman's boring. You can't make Superman interesting. He's too much of a Boy Scout. And you really found a way to kind of not change who the character was, but just show a different side of him, and reflected in the villain Manchester Black, which you basically took everything that fans were saying about Superman and said, okay, well, I'm going to turn it into this character.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. That's one of the cool things too. Again, talking about when you can jump into a character or when you want to jump into comics. The characters have been around for a long time. New artists, new writers take them over every couple of years. So you can find an era or you can find a team that sort of might be interesting to you, even if the one right before it was not your cup of tea. You can always find a Superman story that suits you. And for me, it was very important. Actually, when I first got hired on Superman, he wasn't really a favorite character of mine. But by the time I wrote it for 3 years.
Oh, I love that whole run before you guys on that book all the way through. I mean, you know, there was certainly
The best one, the next best one, and the next best one, and the next best one, but I like them all.
That was a good time. Yeah.
Hi.
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 Tell us what your name is.
Aaron, there's also a mic over there, just so you know.
Oh.
I'll let them go first.
What a gentleman. Please, go ahead.
One of the things that I've always struggled with in the comics and trying to get into the comics is, you know, I grew up with reading books and just reading books, and you have this really nice big book, and you can, you know, spend a week on it, you can spend a day on it if it's good enough, spend a month on it, and you get the whole story in one book. And then my friend tried to get me into it at one point in time, and it was just this little paper thing. And I'm like, well, okay, that's like a chapter. Where's the rest of it? And he said, well, no, you have to wait. I said, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me stop you there. No, this is modern day. And the wonderful thing about comics is that we've been doing this for years. I mean, I'm a young guy. I've been in the business for 15 years. You know, in 15 years, do you know how many comics have been published? Do you know how many amazing comics have been published? You wouldn't believe me if I tried to tell you. Just brilliant things. And they're all out there, fully collected. And you could get them tomorrow off the internet on your iPad. And your iPad wouldn't weigh any more than it did a minute before you downloaded it.
So that's kind of my question to you is, because I've tried to then, you know, try to do the big comic books, but those, even going to half-price books, get really expensive. So is there something, because they, you know, obviously Kindle, they have the apps that you can download your books and it's only a fraction of the price. Well, I know there are certain websites that'll do that with comics. So are there ones that you recommend, or is there something that would give you a good feel?
Well, Comixology is probably the best site out there now for
At the moment,
the digital space at the moment. You know, that may change. You know, there's always, you know, new things coming along, but Comixology is pretty much at the current time tied up deals with all the major publishers. So, and I know a lot of times I get email updates from them all the time saying, oh, this is on sale, this is on sale, this is on sale. So that's a really good way to do it, you know, to have a digital library that you can go back to.
You know what? There's one even more economical thing. Our friend Mark Wade just started a digital comics website called Thrillbent, and I believe everything on there is free.
Yeah, everything on that. All the content is free. He's got a
musical album through Thrillbent, all for free. You know, and so it's all short, you know, digital comics. And go, you know, I mean, especially anything that Mark touches.
Yeah.
Read.
Sure. And then the other, you know, to go really old school is the library. I mean, like literally, libraries have finally caught on to having a graphic novel section, and you get some really good stuff. And they have a nice range very often, especially if somebody's curating well. You'll get the mainstream stuff. They'll make sure that they've got Walking Dead or Avengers or something that's current.
And they'll have Mouse.
And they'll have
Mouse is worth reading.
You know, or they'll have, you know, I have a book called Like the Giants, like they'll have something like that. That's more of a like, young adult, you know, kind of thing. Like they really will have the whole gamut there, and that way you can get it, and then it costs nothing. So.
And then, you know, a third option is make friends with an obsessive compulsive like me, and then just come over and avail yourself to
That's
the
what I
library.
did. I don't buy comics anymore. I just get them from him.
Yeah, I did that too. I couldn't afford comics in college, and I had a buddy with every graphic novel, and just like, okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And that was it.
See, I don't feel bad because my brother was mooching off of me for like 6 years. So, and he finished mooching, now I'm mooching off of Aaron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and as for my name is Gogglehead, the modern steampunk American.
Alright! Did you read Steampunk by Joe?
No.
I've been ready to ask you because I see steampunk is huge in the cosplay world. And you guys were doing steampunk on Cliffhanger for, what, you did like 3 years of that? I gotta admit, so much of it went over my head, but I loved you guys, so I just kept reading, going, I don't understand, but it looks nice.
Yeah, I love steampunk, and I would like it if, instead of it being like, oh, it's Victorian and England steampunk. Where's our American steampunk?
Joe Kelly and Chris, how do you
I
pronounce
mean, like,
Chris's
seriously,
name?
where's our cheese version? That's what we need.
Good job. It's really, if you like steampunk, it's a really cool book. It looks great.
Okay, anyway, for my question. You know how, like, originally, when, like, Captain America first came out and the other Avengers didn't exist, no one really, like, from what I heard, no one really thought that there were going to be all these other amazing superheroes that they came up with and turned into a super new team of superheroes. But I've noticed lately that there haven't really been any, like, they turned old superheroes like Spider-Man and the Hulk into TV shows and video games and all that kind of stuff all the time. But where's our new superheroes? Like,
Oh, they exist. You just don't know about them because you haven't started looking.
But
You have to look for the things that you want to find. If you just look at what is given to you, you will never see anything new or unique. You will only see what is being presented to you.
But where's my...
You have to look.
Now he sounds like Yoda.
Joe Kelly has a number of new, like, and not all of them are necessarily superhero type, comics or whatever, but I Kill Giant with Top Dog was one of them.
Well, Bad Dog.
Bad Dog.
Not a superhero.
Yeah, I couldn't read Bad Dog for not Kill Giants.
So I think you have something specific in mind. What?
Like, what I mean is like, I was thinking that...
Where are the corporate new superheroes?
Kinda, like, where are the new superheroes that are gonna have like a new super team and new fancy TV show?
His name is Gravity. They've killed him a couple times, but they keep bringing him back. The Runaways, they just did a book called Academy X, Avengers Academy. It's all younger, newer characters. I mean, but you're talking about corporate reinvention.
Yeah, like the new, brand new.
The new is really just the old, but a little different.
Well, you've kind of got to go independent.
You got to go outside of the Marvel universe, the DC universe. If you really want new, you need stuff that is not directly impacted by every event that goes on every 2 seconds.
So
you need something that's by itself that can be good on its own.
Okay, and can I buy one of your water bottles for towards
Just to follow up on that too, the places that you've got to look, Marvel and DC are always going to be big, established legacy characters.
Sorry that you missed it.
Image.
I don't need the corners.
Images, create our own stuff, new characters, a lot of all ages stuff. Look online. There's a ton of really good web comics that are new superheroes now. If they last long enough, they will become the new teams. That's the other thing is if people support them and people go from them. Marvel and DC have massive engines behind them that can keep those things going, which is awesome. But when you want to find those new characters, like Jesse said, you got to look elsewhere. And literally, if you go out on that floor, there's comics you just have to kind of take a chance on and just go like, well, I'll try this one. It's $2. We'll see what happens. And if it's great, you buy the next one. And if it's not great, you move on because there's somebody. There's 100 some odd creators in there coming up with new stuff all the time. So that's where you got to look.
On the back end, when I was reading like a lot, my favorite new character to be introduced was Ares. Michael Levanovich wrote this about the ABC miniseries about Ares, and I just loved that character. And of course, I was really shocked when he was ripped in half 6 months later. And I'm like, what? You just made a new one, and he's really good. Now he's dead.
Yeah, I got really invested in that character. You called me.
I called you.
He actually called me on Comic Day Wednesday. And he goes,
Dude, have you read Siege?
and I was like, I just finished it. He's like, they ripped Ares in half. And I was like, I know. It blew my mind.
I was seriously, I was like, what?
And so far, he hasn't come back.
I was on the train, and I yelled. Everybody was like, who's this guy reading a comic and yelling? I had tears in my eyes.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Kiana. I just wanted to say Deadpool is really why I got into comics. I started reading that, and so I just wanted to tell you that you're kind of my hero. And so.
Where did you start with your Deadpool reading?
Oh.
Because it's so hard to get a hold of your run.
Is your run in? Is it?
Yeah, they're Deadpool Classic, which of course makes you feel really old. But they're putting out
There should be a Deadpool Classic.
Deadpool oldies.
Not yet.
But believe it or not, they're putting out an omnibus, which is one of those things that's very cool that they're doing. But it's a really expensive book. I don't really recommend as a person to go track that. It's like $125 book. But
Well, I'll buy it just so I can finally read the Daredevil Deadpool annual, the only issue of the whole run.
Oh, yeah, that's
Never found it.
Yeah, it's literally everything that I ever did is.
Yeah, because they reprint any of that stuff, so any issue I missed, I had, and I hate having to go through stupid long process. What darn issue? Like you said, this thin? I just want,
But thank you very much.
So I love Deadpool and I love Hack Slash and I really
Hey, Tim was really sorry. He got double booked. He was booked at the Dark Horse panel at the same time. He just came over to me and went, Jess, I'm so sorry. So sorry Tim couldn't be here.
Yeah, and I love Spider-Man and that sort of humor, and I was wondering if I wanted to get more into that style, what would I look into to find a comic like that?
Like Spider-Man?
Like Spider-Man, or like it's the dark, snarky humor.
One that I'll recommend right now is still, I think, maybe 4 to 5 issues in, so it's really easy to catch up on the run, is Nick Spencer's doing a book called Superior Foes of Spider-Man, and it follows Boomerang and Speed Demon and the New Beetle and like a couple of other like perennial loser villains and kind of their little group, and so far it has been a lot of fun. And it's nice to see a book that's not told from the hero's perspective. It's told from the schlub villain that's just trying to get by, it's like he's got to go meet with his parole officer. It's really a fun book. So if you like a lot of snarky humor, and I think like right now that the idea is that they're supposed to go find Silvermane's head. And if you're familiar with Spider-Man history, Silvermane's a mobster that was in a cybernetic body and then he got killed, but now there's like a legend that his head's still alive, And so they've been hired to go find his head. We're showing our crime family. So that's one that I recommend right off the top of my head. Are you guys reading? Well, you just read what I read.
I want to say, Brand New Day, and Joe Kelly was a part of that. Some great stuff. I mean, when you get to the Rhino issue, you'll be like losing your mind. It's all really good, and they were doing it weekly. Weekly, 3 issues a month?
I think
Yeah, it was like 3 issues a month for at least like 3 years, I guess. So they had a long run, and you just pick up the Brand New Day, and there's a whole bunch of trade paperbacks, and they're all numbered, and it'll go on for a while. And it's a lot of really great stuff, and it's all this great world building, because they had a real long game plan set up for the whole, the whole story. So you really can see the long game that they're going towards, and it ends really, I think, pretty satisfying, especially because it continues into Dan Slott's run, which is going on now still, which is really enjoyable as well. So if you start there and enjoy that, you're gonna have a long time of reading Spider-Man.
And Dan's a really funny writer.
Oh, he's right. Dan is really, really funny. His She-Hulk run and his Thing run, which I don't think they collected the Thing, but there's definitely some collections of the She-Hulk run that he did, which is awesome. She's a green, super strong lawyer.
Yeah. Also check out Astonishing X-Men if you like humor, because that book had a lot of humor in it. It was written by a really little known writer named Joss Whedon.
That's a love in my heart.
And also, if you haven't,
he's obscure. It'll be hard to find, but it's out there.
If you haven't checked it out yet, Brian Vaughn's Saga. You've read that?
Ooh, I love Saga.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's a level of humor in that as well as the fantasy. And you talk about a thing you can never make a movie of.
Yeah,
I mean,
high concept.
Crazy high concept budget nonsense. But
And
it's
maybe you could, but it would cost millions.
No, you'd have to do like an HBO Game of Thrones budget show.
See, but that's the thing right there. You said, oh, I love Saga. Well, then you have the answer to all your questions. You love Brian K. Vaughan. And you need to seek out more Brian K. Vaughan books, and there are a lot of great ones. From Runaways and I always get nervous to say 2X. Is it 2X? I don't know. I never bothered to learn how to pronounce it.
As a comic geek, you read a lot of words and you think you know the way that they're pronounced. A lot of words that you've never heard anyone say. It's another great thing about it. You'll have a vocabulary. You just won't necessarily know how to pronounce it.
I know how to spell it.
You'll know what it means. You'll know what it is.
What was the other? There's a whole bunch of other good
Brian? He wrote Pride of Baghdad, which is a one-shot graphic novel.
Look him up.
Yeah.
Find out everything he's written and start reading all those books. That's how I did it. I loved Eric Larson. I love Joe Kelly. I started reading Uncanny X-Men because I saw Joe Kelly was writing Uncanny X-Men. So then all of a sudden, I was reading the X-Men. I started reading Superman because I saw Joe Kelly was writing Superman. And I followed the people I liked.
I'll pay you later.
Yeah. It's so cool to call Joe a friend, but he's one of my idols, one of the people that I'm in the business because of. But it's people like
When
Joe.
Joe was in the middle point of his career, and I was a little tiny baby.
It was Joe, Garth Ennis, and Greg Rucko, whoever it was, that I responded to something they did. And all I had to do was hear, I would pay attention to reviews. I'd hear that this book was good, and I'd give it a chance. If I thought it was good, I said, this guy can write. And I would follow them to something else. And boy, did I discover some great stuff that way. I'm very rarely disappointed.
Yeah, Garth is another. If you don't read Garth Ennis is the pendulum swings between really funny and really dark and deadly and raunchy, but it's always somewhere in between. I love
Preacher.
Yeah, but it's very dark.
Hysterical.
All right, let's go.
Jesse, do you want some hot tea for your throat?
Okay.
That was an easy question.
That is the great precursor we'll do today. Yes, sir. Tell us your name.
My name is Nick. Just real quick though, on the Astonishing X-Men, I just found 2 copies of that downstairs in one of the 25-cent bins, so there is a chance that you can find some here. Check it out. I just read number 7 and it was fantastic.
It's a great book, beautiful too. John Cassidy's a great artist.
Oh, but actually I got to meet the 2 of you at Wizard World last February, and I will say you guys both suggested to me Mouse, and Jesse, my girlfriend, actually told me about this last night.
Oh,
Yes.
Yes.
This is a great story.
She says you're a mouse aficionado now.
We went out the day after the con and got the first book, and within 8 hours I had finished it. It is a fantastic book. Jesse is underselling it, even if he had his voice and was jumping up and down on the couch like Tom Cruise.
Like I usually do.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to actually see you sitting in the
I've wanted to do that the whole weekend.
It was the tea just.
But now it's my panel, so I can't.
But Mouse was such a great read that I was wondering, is there anything else along the same lines, maybe historical base?
That's tough company.
Road to Perdition, which I have not read myself. I love the movie, and I've been meaning to read it. It's supposed to be really excellent. And, I don't believe it's historical in any way, shape, or form, but it is.
It's a period piece,
piece.
yeah.
A really well done period.
And even period pieces are great. Also, just kind of that same writing style where it's almost like that.
Torso.
Torso.
Read Torso. Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Draco. It's based on Elliot Ness solving the first serial killer in the history of the United States.
Yeah.
And it's based on the real history.
Smiling.
Dude, it's awesome. It's black and white. It's really good. It's a thick one, but I read that one in like a short sitting. I was blown away by it. And Draco too. So somebody was like, dude, Torso is awesome. It's great.
And then, if you like period stuff, then maybe you're willing to try something more out of the box. Lone Wolf and Cub, if you haven't read that series. It's a samurai series. It's old. I mean, it's been around for a long time.
It doesn't matter.
But it's beautiful and it's really long. I mean, I think there's like 35 volumes of it or something like that. But it's the guy who was the head executioner for the emperor. Something goes down, he ends up having to lose his position, so he becomes a Ronin, and it's him with literally his baby and taking this path to revenge. And it's an incredible epic. Like you get through 35 volumes of this thing, and it's kind of mind-blowing. But those guys are sort of masters, and it doesn't look like you sort of have a preconception about like what manga looks like. It's not at all. It's a very highly detailed, highly rendered book. Really beautiful stuff.
It is a very beautiful book. Yeah, he's underselling it.
Okay, let's go back over here.
Oh wait, one more. Isn't there? Did Spiegelman do not like a sequel to Mouse, but like was it follow-up? Yeah.
Two books of Mouse. The first one, his dad was still alive.
Yeah.
The second one, his dad actually passed away when he was starting to draw it out. He only had the recordings to go off of it. There's none of the live.
Gotcha. Did you read the second one?
The second one is amazing. You find out how the dad actually finished and ended up at the.
Oh, see, I haven't read the second one. I should. Wow,
See, look
I
at
totally agree.
now you're coming back and you're educating us. You're schooling us. That's awesome.
I have become a student.
My life is now complete.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever read Empowered by Adam Warren?
I have read Empowered. It's been a while.
What do you think about it?
I really like I said, it's been a while, so it doesn't stand out clear enough for me. I think I enjoyed it. I tend to enjoy Adam's stuff. He has a really fun style that I really like. So I think I enjoyed it, but like I said, it's been a long time since I read it, so I can't recall anything specific.
I haven't read it, but one of my good friends at Marvel, who was an editor over there, he hired Warren because he loved that book. So he actually brought him out. I forget what he did. There was like an Ant-Man mini-series, or like, it was like some obscure.
I was going to say, the name is familiar, but I don't know.
Quasi, like anime-ish sort of, you know.
Yeah, his style's very anime influenced,
yeah.
but like really.
Yeah, my buddy worships that book. He loves that book.
He did a Gen 13 miniseries, like a little miniseries.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I absolutely love.
Yeah, I think I read that. Yeah. Sorry, not all of us have read that one. I'm sorry. There's a lot of books.
Yes, what's your name? What's your question?
My name's Susan.
Hi, Susan.
And I have a niece who's 11 and really
Ultimate Spider-Man.
What? She's so afraid of blood. And
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, there's a little bit of violence. If you don't want any violence whatsoever, it's comic book violence. Okay. It's meant to be a ground floor book for kids. It's a slow burn book. Brian Michael Bendis is still writing it.
Is she interested in all of in the My Little Pony books that IDW is doing?
So I went into my local comic shop and was asking, and she wants superheroes. And she was like, and I went into my comic book shop, and they were like, the Pony books and Adventure Time. Exactly.
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Are there any with female leads?
Astonishing X-Men.
Astonishing X-Men.
Astonishing X-Men has Kitty Pryde and really good, positive, female well, and then White Queen to offset that positivity.
I would also definitely recommend Tiny Titans. It's fun.
Tiny Titans is great. That one's real simple. That one's like, I read that to my 5-6-year-old.
Yeah, it might be I don't know if it's too young. The G-Man series, even though it's not a female lead, but G-Man is great. It's Chris Giarrusso.
Bone.
Oh, Bone is very cool.
Bone's a great one.
Yeah, Bone is really cool.
Yes.
I know because my son's been looking at stuff. Our comic shop is really awesome. Like when you first walk in, it's all kids stuff, which a lot of comic shops don't have. It's hidden and.
There's a good one. There's at least probably like 10 graphic novels of Jeff Johns' Teen Titans Run. Not Teen Titans Run. It's Beast Boy, all the characters from the Teen Titans Go, plus Superboy, Wonder Girl, the main cat, all the big marquee sidekicks. And it's not super bloody or crazy. Although if you keep going past Jeff Johns' one, it's
I would make sure you read. Once you get past Jeff Johns' run, make sure you read the first whether it's appropriate.
Yeah, some of them get cut but there are definitely new comics out too. A friend of mine has a book called Rocket Queen and the Wrench. It's an online book, a webcomic. Very cool Rocket
Scary
Queen.
Godmother.
Scary Godmother.
By Jill Thompson. Beautiful. She's great, Jill.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Bianca.
Hi, Bianca.
And I've been a big video game nerd pretty much my whole life, and I've just recently gotten into comics through my favorite video game, Mass Effect. They started doing comics.
Right, Dark Horse does some great stuff.
They were awesome, and so now I'm like, okay, I really want to get into more comics, but I guess the biggest issue I've had with comics is
10, 9, 8, 7,